Tejo stepped off the transport ship and looked up at the massive space station floating in front of him. The Galactic Council station was bigger than any city he had ever seen on Earth. Lights twinkled across its surface like stars, and ships from dozens of different worlds moved in and out of its docking bays like busy insects. He pulled his diplomatic bag closer to his chest and walked toward the main entrance. This was his first mission as a human ambassador. After years of training and studying alien cultures, he was finally here. His heart beat fast with excitement and fear. The entrance hall was enormous. Beings from all over the galaxy moved through, it in groups. Tejo saw the insect-like Vextar clicking across the floor on their 6 legs. Their black shells shined under the bright lights. Near them stood the Zephi, tall crystal beings that made soft ringing sounds when they moved. In another corner, the Kordan sat in special water pools, their green skin wet and glistening. But what caught Tejo's attention was the security checkpoint ahead. Every alien species was stopped there. They had to give up weapons before entering the council chambers. The line moved slowly as each being handed over different kinds of tools and devices. A Vextar warrior placed 3 energy blasters and a neural scrambler on the security table. The weapons looked deadly and advanced. Behind him, a Zephi diplomat removed something that looked like a crystal wand that hummed with power. Even further back, a massive Kordan struggled to remove a complex harness covered in sharp metal spikes. Tejo watched this for several minutes. Every single alien had weapons to give up. Some carried obvious guns and blades. Others had strange devices he could not identify. A few species had to remove parts of their clothing that turned out to be hidden armor or tools. When his turn came, Tejo walked up to the security scanner. The machine hummed and blue light passed over his body. The alien security guard, a tall gray being with 4 arms, looked at the scanner results. Then it looked at Tejo with confusion. "Human diplomat Tejo," the guard said in a mechanical voice. "No weapons detected. Please proceed to council chambers." Tejo blinked. "That's it? Don't you need to check my bag?" The guard's 4 arms waved in what might have been a shrug. "Humans are not required to surrender weapons. You may pass." Still confused, Tejo walked through the checkpoint. Behind him, the line of aliens continued to give up their weapons. He heard the clatter of metal, the hum of energy weapons being deactivated, and the angry clicks and growls of beings who did not want to give up their protection. On the other side of security, Tejo found Jiwoo waiting for him. She was a middle-aged Korean woman who had been working at the council for 10 years. Her job was to help new human diplomats learn the rules and customs. "Welcome to the big leagues," Jiwoo said with a smile. "How was your trip?" "Fine, but I have a question," Tejo said. "Why didn't I have to give up any weapons? Every other species had to surrender something." Jiwoo's smile became mysterious. "Because we're the most dangerous species in the galaxy when we're unarmed," Tejo laughed. "That's a good joke. But seriously, why?" "I'm not joking," Jiwoo said. She started walking toward the council chambers, and Tejo followed. "You'll understand soon enough." As they walked through the corridors, Tejo saw more evidence of the weapon policy. Storage rooms lined the halls filled with thousands of alien weapons and devices. Some rooms had special containment fields glowing around particularly dangerous items. Signs in dozens of languages warned about the consequences of trying to bring weapons into the council area. "This doesn't make sense," Tejo said. "Look at these beings. The Vextar have natural armor and can spit acid. The Zephi can create sound waves that can crack stone. The Cordon are 3 times stronger than humans and can breathe underwater for hours. How are we more dangerous than them? You're thinking about danger the wrong way, Jiwoo said. Physical strength isn't the only kind of power. They reached the council chamber's entrance. Through the massive doors, Taeho could see the main meeting hall. It was shaped like a giant bowl, with seats arranged in circles going down to the center. Hundreds of beings from dozens of species sat in their designated areas. The human section was small compared to most others. Only about 20 humans sat there. But Taeho noticed something interesting. While other species stayed in their own groups, humans moved freely through the chamber. They talked with different aliens, shared data tablets, and seemed comfortable everywhere. The council session starts in 1 hour, Jiwoo said. Let me show you to our seats. The human seating area was simple compared to the others. The Vextar had special platforms that let them stand while leaning forward. The Zephi had crystal resonators built into their chairs. The Cordon section had small pools of water for their comfort. But the human seats were just normal chairs. This is your first council session, Jiwoo said. Just watch and learn. Don't try to speak unless someone asks you a direct question, and pay attention to how different species behave. As beings filled the chamber, Taeho noticed the tension in the air. Many species stayed far apart from others. Some groups had obvious hostility between them. The Vextar clicked their mandibles aggressively when they looked at the Cordon. The crystal beings hummed in frequencies that made other species move away. There's a lot of anger here, Taeho observed. There always is, Jiwoo said. Dozens of species with different needs, different cultures, different goals. They don't trust each other. Most of them barely tolerate being in the same room. Then how does anything get decided? Very carefully, Jiwoo said, and usually with human help. The session began when a massive gong rang through the chamber. The council leader, an ancient being that looked like a walking tree, called for order. Its voice was deep and slow, like wind through leaves. The first issue was a trade dispute between the Vextar and the Zephi. Both species wanted exclusive rights to mine a particular asteroid belt. As the debate heated up, Taeho watched the representatives from both sides. The Vextar speaker hissed and clicked, its words sharp and aggressive. Even without weapons, it looked dangerous. Its black shell gleamed, and its compound eyes never stopped moving. When it spoke, other Vextar in the audience responded with approving clicks. The Zephi representative responded with sounds that made Taeho's bones vibrate. The crystal being's body flashed with angry red lights. Its words came out as musical notes, but even Taeho could tell they were not friendly notes. Other species began taking sides. The chamber filled with growls, hisses, clicks, and sounds Taeho had never heard before. Even without weapons, these beings looked ready to fight. Natural claws extended, skin changed colors in warning patterns, and several species released scents that made others back away. "This is getting dangerous," Taeho whispered to Jiwoo. "Not yet," she said calmly. "Watch what happens next." A human diplomat named Young Soo stood up from their section. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. He did not look threatening at all compared to the aliens around him. But when he spoke, something strange happened. "Council leader," Young Soo said in a clear voice, "may I suggest a compromise?" The chamber became quiet. All the angry aliens turned to look at the small human standing in their midst. Taeho held his breath. sure that young Sue was about to be torn apart by beings much larger and stronger than him. Instead, they listened. 3 days had passed since Taeho's first council session. He still could not stop thinking about what he had seen. Young Sue had somehow convinced 2 angry alien species to share the asteroid mining rights. The human diplomat had spoken for only 10 minutes, but his words had calmed down beings that looked ready to start a war. Taeho needed answers. He walked through the station's library level, looking for someone who could explain the weapon policy. The library was huge, with data storage systems from every known species. Floating screens showed information in dozens of languages and symbol systems. In the back corner, he found who he was looking for. Kyung-min sat at a desk covered with old paper books and data tablets. The elderly man had white hair and deep lines around his eyes. He had worked at the council for 40 years and knew more about galactic history than almost anyone. "Excuse me," Taeho said. "Are you Kyung-min, the chief historian?" The old man looked up from his reading. "Yes, that's me. You must be the new ambassador. Taeho, right? Jiwoo told me you might come looking for answers." "I don't understand." "Why humans don't have to give up weapons," Taeho said. "Every other species does. What makes us special?" Kyung-min closed his book and gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit down. This will take some time to explain properly." Taeho sat and waited. The historian looked thoughtful for a moment, then began to speak. 23 years ago, there was an incident here. We call it the Sector incident. Have you heard of the Sector people? "A little," Taeho said. "They're warriors, right? Big and strong?" "Very big and very strong," Kyung-min confirmed. The Sector are natural fighters. They have bone spikes that grow from their arms and shoulders. Their saliva is acidic enough to melt through metal. Their skin is thick like armor. They're born for battle. The historian pulled up a holographic display showing an image of a Sector warrior. The being was over 7 feet tall, covered in natural bone armor, with long spikes jutting from its forearms. Its face was fierce, with sharp teeth and glowing red eyes. The Sector had been asking for expanded territory rights, Kyung-min continued. They wanted 3 new star systems to colonize. The council spent months debating their request. Other species were worried about giving the Sector more space. They feared it would make the warriors too powerful. What happened? The vote came down against them. The council said no to the territorial expansion. The Sector representative was a warrior named Graktor. He had fought in dozens of battles and commanded great respect among his people, but he had never learned to accept defeat. Kyung-min touched the holographic controls, and the display changed to show the council chambers as they had looked 23 years ago. The layout was similar, but there were some differences in the seating arrangements. When the vote was announced, Graktor became furious. He stood up from his seat and began shouting at the council leader. Other species tried to calm him down, but he would not listen. His anger grew worse and worse. But he didn't have any weapons, right? Like the current policy? Kyung-min nodded grimly. That's exactly the problem. Everyone thought he was disarmed. The security scanners had checked him for energy weapons, blade weapons, chemical weapons, everything they could think of. But they missed something important. What? The Sector body is a weapon. Graktor didn't need manufactured weapons. His bone spikes could cut through most armor. His acid spit could blind enemies. His strength could break bones with one hit. The security system only looked for things he carried, not things he was born with. The historian's face became serious. Graktor went into something called Berserker Rage. It's a state sectar warriors. Enter during battle. They lose control and attack everything around them. In the council chambers, that meant everyone was in danger. Taeho felt his stomach drop. He attacked other council members? He did more than attack them. He began killing them. Kyungmin touched the controls again, and the display showed security footage from that day. This recording is from the A Chamber's emergency cameras. The footage was blurry and shook as the cameras tried to follow the action. Taeho could see the massive sectar warrior moving through the chamber like a storm of violence. Other beings screamed and ran in all directions. Some tried to fight back, but they had no weapons and were not prepared for this kind of attack. A HFY diplomat fell as Graktor's bone spikes tore through its crystal body. A group of Vextar tried to surround the berserker but were scattered when he spat acid at them. Even the large Cordon warriors could not stop him because they had no way to fight back in the chamber. "This is horrible," Taeho said. "It gets worse," Kyungmin said. The security forces could not get into the chamber quickly enough. Their weapons were stored too far away. Graktor was killing council members faster than anyone could stop him. In 5 minutes, he had already killed 8 beings and wounded dozens more. "How did it end?" Kyungmin smiled sadly. "That's where humans come into the story. Young-soo was there that day. He was much younger then, but he was already known as a skilled diplomat. When the attack started, most humans ran like everyone else. But Young-soo did something different." "What did he do?" He walked toward Graktor. Taeho stared at the historian. "He walked toward a 7-foot killer warrior, without any weapons." "Without any weapons," Kyungmin confirmed. "The security footage shows it clearly. While everyone else ran away from the berserker, Young-soo walked straight toward him. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He didn't try to fight. He just walked." The historian changed the display to show a clearer view of that moment. Taeho could see Young-soo, looking much younger but still recognizable. The human diplomat moved calmly through the chaos, stepping around fallen council members and avoiding the acid spit that Graktor sprayed in all directions. Graktor saw him coming. Kyungmin continued. The berserker turned toward Young-soo with his bone spikes ready to kill. Everyone thought they were about to watch a human die in the most horrible way possible. But that didn't happen. No, it didn't. Because Young-soo did something that no other species had thought to do, something that stopped Graktor completely. Taeho leaned forward. "What?" He spoke to Graktor like a person. The historian adjusted the audio controls, and sound came from the display. Through the noise and chaos, Taeho could hear Young-soo's voice, calm and clear. "Graktor," the younger Young-soo said in the recording, "your spawn mate Cathara wouldn't want this." On the display, the massive sectar warrior stopped moving. His bone spikes remained extended, his muscles still bulged with rage, but he was no longer attacking. He stood frozen, staring at the small human in front of him. "He knew the warrior's mate's name?" Taeho asked. "He knew much more than that," Kyungmin said. Young-soo had spent months learning about every council member, not their political positions or their species' military strength. He learned about their families, their personal lives, their hopes and fears. The recording continued. Young-soo kept speaking to Graktor in a gentle voice, mentioning the warrior's 3 children, his military honors, and even his secret hobby of writing poetry. With each personal detail, the berserker's rage seemed to fade a little more. Other species prepare for negotiations by studying battle tactics and economic data, Kyungmin explained. Humans prepare by learning who they're talking to as individuals. Young-Soo knew that Graktor wrote poems about his homeworld's sunsets. He knew the names of all 3 children and what games they liked to play. He knew that Kethara was pregnant, with their 4th child. And that stopped the attack? Not immediately, but it began to bring Graktor back from his berserker state. The rage was still there, but Young-Soo kept talking. He spoke about Graktor's family, his achievements, his dreams for his people's future. Slowly, the personal connections began to matter more than the political anger. The recording showed Graktor's bone spikes slowly retracting. His massive body began to shake, not with rage, but with something else. Other council members watched in amazement as the deadly warrior started to cry. He collapsed? Taeho asked. Emotional exhaustion? Kyung-min said. Berserker rage burns through a sectar's energy very quickly. But more than that, Young-Soo had reminded him of what he was fighting for. It wasn't really about territory. It was about providing a better future for his family and his people. Recording showed Young-Soo helping the exhausted warrior to his feet. The human diplomat continued speaking in the sectar language, offering comfort and understanding. Around them, the chamber was filled with injured beings and destruction. But the immediate danger was over. After that day, everything changed, Kyung-min said. The council realized that their weapons policy was incomplete. They had been thinking about manufactured weapons, but they had ignored natural ones. Almost every species in the galaxy has some kind of built-in weapon: claws, teeth, poison, psychic abilities, electrical fields. You can't really disarm most aliens. But humans are different? Humans are completely different. We have no natural weapons, no claws, no armor, no poison, no special abilities. We're physically weak compared to most species. But that day showed the Council something important about humans. What? When humans can't fight, they connect instead. And connection is the most powerful force in the galaxy. Kyung-min led Taeho deeper into the archives section of the library. The walls here were lined with storage devices that held complete records of every council session. The air smelled like old electronics and preserved documents. I want to show you the complete recording of that day, the historian said. Most people only see short clips or read reports about what happened. But the full footage tells a much more complete story. They stopped at a viewing station with a large holographic display. Kyung-min input a series of codes, and the screen came to life with crystal-clear images from the council chambers 23 years ago. This is from the main security camera, he explained. It shows the entire incident from start to finish. Pay attention not just to what Young-Soo did, but how he did it. The recording began with the council in normal session. Taeho could see beings from dozens of species in their seats, listening as the vote results were announced. The sectar delegation sat in a special section designed for their large bodies. Graktor was easy to spot even among his own people. He was the biggest sectar in the group, with bone spikes that were longer and sharper than the others. Watch his body language, Kyung-min said. You can see the anger building even before the vote is finished. Graktor's massive frame tensed as each vote was counted. His bone spikes began to extend slightly from their resting position. Other sectar around him moved away, sensing the danger. Even his own people knew what was coming. When the final vote was announced, rejecting the sectar territorial request, Graktor stood up slowly. His 7-foot frame towered over everyone around him. His red eyes began to glow brighter, and his breathing became heavy and loud. The berserker state doesn't happen instantly, Kyung-min explained. It builds up over several minutes. Other species tried to calm him down during this time, but they made crucial mistakes. On the recording, Tejo watched as a Vextar diplomat approached Graktor. The insect being clicked and hissed in what was probably meant to be soothing sounds. But instead of calming down, Graktor became more agitated. The Vextar was trying to help, Kyungmin said, but it didn't understand sectar psychology. Those clicking sounds are similar to the noise sectar prey animals make when they're scared. It actually triggered Graktor's hunting instincts. A HFY diplomat tried next, creating soft musical tones that were meant to be peaceful. But the crystal being's approach only made things worse. Graktor's bone spikes extended fully, and he began to snarl. "Wrong again," Kyungmin said. "Those musical frequencies interfere with sectar brain patterns. Instead of calming him, it was like torture." More species tried to help, but each attempt backfired. A Cordon warrior offered to fight Graktor in honorable combat, which only increased his rage. A gaseous being tried to surround him with calming chemicals, but sectar biology reacted to foreign chemicals as poison attacks. Every species tried to help using their own methods, Kyungmin observed. They treated Graktor like a member of their own species instead of understanding what he actually needed. Finally, Graktor reached full berserker state. He let out a roar that shook the entire chamber and launched himself at the nearest target. His bone spikes tore through a HFY diplomat's crystal body like it was made of thin glass. Acid spit flew in all directions, burning everything it touched. The chamber erupted in panic. Beings ran in every direction, but there was nowhere to go. The exits were too far away, and Graktor was moving too fast. Security alarms blared, but the guards were locked out by emergency protocols that were meant to protect the weapons storage areas. Tejo watched in horror as the sectar warrior moved through the chamber like a natural disaster. His movements were incredibly fast for such a large being. Every swipe of his bone spikes brought down another council member. His acid spit created clouds of toxic vapor that forced other beings to flee their hiding spots. 8 deaths in the first 5 minutes, Kyungmin said sadly. Dozens more wounded. It was the worst disaster in council history. Where were the humans during this? Tejo asked. Most of them ran like everyone else. That was the smart thing to do. The human section was close to one of the emergency exits, so they had a good chance to escape. But watch this part carefully. The camera angle changed to show the human seating area. Most of the human diplomats were indeed heading for the exits in an orderly fashion. But Young-soo remained in his seat, watching the chaos with a thoughtful expression. He's studying the situation, Kyungmin pointed out. Look at his eyes. He's not looking at Graktor as a monster or a threat. He's looking at him as a person, in distress. Young-soo stood up and began walking toward the center of the chamber. Other humans tried to stop him. A woman grabbed his arm and pointed toward the exit, clearly telling him to run. But Young-soo gently pulled free and continued walking. This is the crucial moment, Kyungmin said. Young-soo had studied every council member for months before this session. He knew more about Graktor's personal life than most of Graktor's own friends. The camera followed Young-soo as he moved through the chaos. He stepped carefully around fallen council members and pools of acid. When flying debris came his way, he dodged calmly without panicking. His movements were deliberate and controlled. He's not showing any fear, Tejo observed. Exactly. Fear would have triggered Graktor's hunting instincts even more. Young-soo approached like someone coming to help, not someone trying to fight or escape. Graktor noticed the approaching human and turned toward him with bone spikes ready. The Massive Warrior took a step forward, prepared to kill this small being who dared to come near him. Then Young-Su spoke. Graktor, your spawn mate Cathara wouldn't want this. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Graktor stopped moving completely. His bone spikes remained extended, but his entire body went rigid. His glowing red eyes fixed on Young-Su's face with confusion instead of rage. He used the most important relationship in Graktor's life, Kyungmin explained. Among the Sektar, spawn mates are sacred bonds. Mentioning Cathara forced Graktor to remember who he was beyond just a warrior. Young-Su continued speaking, his voice calm and steady despite being inches away from a creature that could kill him instantly. I know you're fighting for your children, for Tokimar, for Vithana, for little Grektol. I know you want them to have better worlds to live on. Each name hit Graktor like a physical blow. His bone spikes began to retract slightly. The rigid posture started to relax. How did Young-Su know their names? Taeho asked. He had spent weeks learning about every council member's family, not for political reasons, but because he understood that politics is personal. Every being here has people they love, dreams they want to achieve, fears they want to avoid. The recording continued. Young-Su spoke about Graktor's military service, mentioning specific battles and decorations. He talked about the warrior's poetry, quoting lines from verses that no non-Sektar had ever heard before. Your poem about the twin sunsets of Sektar Prime, Young-Su said. You wrote it for Cathara when you were courting her. Two suns set as one heart rises, love stronger than warrior's pride. She still keeps it in your sleeping chamber. Graktor's legs began to shake. The berserker rage was fading, replaced by emotional exhaustion. Around the chamber, other beings watched in amazement as the deadly warrior started to break down. He's remembering why he fights, Kyungmin said. Young-Su isn't trying to defeat him or stop him. He's reminding Graktor of what matters most to him. Young-Su kept talking, his voice gentle and understanding. He spoke in perfect Sektar language about Graktor's hopes for his people's future. He mentioned the warrior's concerns about overcrowding on the homeworld and his fears that younger Sektar would forget their traditions. I know you're scared that your children won't have the same strong life you had, Young-Su said. That's why you wanted the new territories. Not for conquest, but for families, so they could grow up with room to become warriors like their father. The massive Sektar warrior began to cry. Tears ran down his face as the full weight of what he had done hit him. He looked around the chamber at the destruction he had caused, at the beings he had killed and wounded. Graktor fell to his knees, his bone spikes fully retracted. The berserker rage was completely gone, replaced by grief and shame. He spoke in his own language, words that the recording translated as apologies and mourning cries. Young-Su knelt beside him, placing a gentle hand on the warrior's massive shoulder. He continued speaking softly, offering comfort and understanding. Around them, the chamber was filled with the wounded and the dead, but the immediate danger was over. The aftermath was just as important as the incident itself, Kyungmin said as the recording continued. Watch how Young-Su handles this. Medical. Teams arrived and began treating the wounded. Security forces finally entered the chamber, weapons ready. But Young-Su stood between them and Graktor, speaking quickly in multiple languages to explain what had happened. He protected Graktor from revenge, Taeho realized. Yes. Young-Su understood that executing or imprisoning Graktor would only create more problems. The sectar would see it as an injustice, possibly leading to war. Instead, young Su helped arrange for Graktor to face judgment by his own people according to sectar law. The next morning, Taeho received a message on his communication device. It was from someone named Min-ho, who identified himself as the head of human intelligence operations at the council station. The message was simple. "Meet me in conference. Room 7 Alpha. We need to talk." Taeho found the conference room on the 7th level of the station. It was smaller than the main meeting halls, designed for private discussions. When he entered, he saw a man in his 50s with sharp eyes and graying hair. The room's walls were covered with holographic displays showing star maps and data streams. "You must be Taeho," the man said, standing to shake hands. "I'm Min-ho. I heard you've been asking questions about our weapon exemption." "Yes, sir. Kyung-min showed me the recording from the sectar incident. It was amazing what Young-soo did, but I still don't understand the full picture." Min-ho gestured for Tae-ho to sit down. The sectar incident was important, but it wasn't the only reason for our special status. That event just made the council realize something that had been true all along. The man touched a control panel, and the wall displays changed to show various charts and graphs. "Let me show you the complete data. This is classified information, so you can't share it with anyone outside the human diplomatic corps." Taeho nodded, feeling honored to be trusted with secret information. "Every species in the galaxy develops tools to destroy their enemies," Min-ho began. "Better weapons, stronger armor, faster ships. It's natural evolution, but humans evolved differently." The displays showed historical data about different species' technological development. Each alien civilization had clear patterns of military advancement. Weapon technology always led other fields of science. Humans developed tools to connect with others, Min-ho continued. Better communication, deeper understanding, stronger relationships. While other species built bigger guns, we built better ways to talk to each other. A new chart appeared showing human technological development. Unlike the alien patterns, human advancement focused heavily on communication technology, cultural studies, and psychological research. This isn't just recent behavior, Min-ho explained. It goes back to the beginning of human space travel. When we first met alien species, our approach was completely different from everyone else. The display showed records from humanity's first contact with other civilizations. Taeho read the reports with growing amazement. While most species approached first contact with warships and defensive protocols, humans had sent cultural exchange, teams, and communication specialists. The Vextar First Contact Protocol involved 3 battle fleets and a list of demands, Min-ho said. The HFY approach included psychic probes and territorial mapping. The Cordon showed up with enough firepower to destroy a planet. What did humans do? We sent anthropologists, linguists, and musicians. We wanted to learn their languages, understand their cultures, and share our art with them. Other species thought we were insane. A recording played showing humanity's first diplomatic meeting with the Vextar. Human representatives sat across from insect warriors that could have torn them apart easily. But instead of discussing military strength or territorial boundaries, the humans asked about Vextar family structures and art forms. The aliens didn't know what to make of us, Min-ho said with a smile. Here were these soft, weak creatures that seemed more interested in learning about their poetry than their plasma cannons. But that approach worked? Better than anyone expected. Within 5 years, humans had established cultural exchange programs with 7 different species. We learned their languages faster than anyone thought possible. We understood their psychology in ways that amazed their own leaders. The displays showed the results. Human diplomats consistently achieved better trade agreements, resolved conflicts more peacefully, and built stronger alliances than representatives from other species. The Sector incident wasn't the first time humans stopped a potential war, Minho revealed. It was just the most dramatic. Let me show you the classified files. New data appeared on the screens. Tae-ho saw report after report of humans preventing conflicts through psychological intervention and cultural mediation. In each case, human diplomats had succeeded where traditional military deterrence had failed. The HFY Cordon War of 2387, Minho said, pointing to one file. Two powerful species fighting over water rights. The conflict lasted 3 years and killed millions. Every military intervention failed to stop it. How did humans end it? Ambassador So Young spent 6 months learning both cultures in detail. She discovered that the war wasn't really about water rights at all. Both species were fighting because they felt disrespected by the other. The HFY thought the Cordon were primitive. The Cordon thought the HFY were arrogant. The file showed So Young's approach. Instead of negotiating resource divisions, she organized cultural exhibitions. HFY crystal artists worked with Cordon water sculptors to create new art forms. The two species began to see each other as creative partners instead of enemies. The war ended not with a peace treaty, but with a cultural festival, Minho said. Both species were so busy celebrating their new artistic collaborations that they forgot why they were fighting. More files appeared, showing similar patterns. The Vextar expansion crisis, stopped by humans who organized an interspecies science competition. The Great Trade War ended when human economists created a profit-sharing system that made cooperation more profitable than conflict. In every case, the key was understanding what the aliens really wanted, Minho explained. Other species always assumed conflicts were about resources or territory. Humans looked deeper and found the emotional and cultural causes. A woman entered the room quietly. She was younger than Minho, with intelligent eyes and a calm demeanor. Minho introduced her as So Young, a xenopsychologist who specialized in alien behavior patterns. "I heard you were getting the full briefing," So Young said to Tae-ho. "Minho is showing you the strategic picture, but I want you to understand the psychological reality." She took control of the displays, bringing up new charts that showed brain scan data from different species. Every intelligent species has the same basic emotional needs: security, recognition, purpose, and connection. But they express these needs in different ways. The brain scans showed activity patterns during various emotional states. Tae-ho could see how different species' brains lit up when they felt threatened, proud, or loved. The Vextar need constant validation of their military prowess. So Young explained. The HFY need acknowledgement of their intellectual superiority. The Cordon need respect for their ancient traditions. Most species try to meet these needs through dominance or competition. But humans approach it differently. Humans look for ways to make other species feel valued without creating winners and losers. Instead of competing with Vextar military strength, we ask them to teach us their battle tactics. Instead of challenging HFY intelligence, we ask them to help us solve complex problems. The displays showed examples of this approach in action. Human diplomats consistently made other species feel important and respected while avoiding direct confrontation or competition. This is why other species trust humans without weapons, So Young continued. Armed humans might resort to force like everyone else, but weaponless humans are forced to use their greatest evolutionary advantage, which is extreme social intelligence. Humans are better at reading emotions, predicting behavior, and building relationships than any other known species. When we can't fight, we connect. And connection is more powerful than any weapon. Minho brought up a final set of files. The Council keeps detailed records of diplomatic success rates. Want to guess which species has the highest rate of peaceful conflict resolution? Tejo looked at the numbers with amazement. Humans achieve successful outcomes in over 90% of their diplomatic missions. The next highest species barely reached 50%. How is that possible? Humans aren't the strongest or smartest species. No, but we're the most emotionally intelligent, So Young said. We can understand what other beings want, predict how they'll react, and find solutions that make everyone feel satisfied. Other species solve problems through force or logic. Humans solve problems through empathy. There's something else, Minho added. Something the Council learned about, human psychology, that changed everything. He pulled up a psychological analysis of human behavior patterns. The data showed something remarkable about how humans responded to different situations. When humans feel threatened or have access to weapons, we become more aggressive and defensive. It's a survival instinct. But when humans feel safe and can't resort to violence, our cooperative instincts take over completely. You mean humans are actually less dangerous when they can't defend themselves? Exactly. Give a human a weapon and they start thinking like a soldier. Take away their weapons and they start thinking like a teacher, healer, or friend. The Council realized that disarming humans would actually make them more effective, not less. So Young nodded. Other species trust weaponless humans because they know we'll approach every problem with maximum empathy and creativity. We can't intimidate or threaten, so we have to understand and connect. This is why our exemption exists, Minho concluded. 2 weeks after his meeting with Minho and So Young, Tejo was settling into his routine as a council diplomat. He had started to understand the complex relationships between different species and how humans fit into the galactic political structure, but that peaceful routine was about to be shattered. The emergency alarms began blaring at OR 600 station time. Tejo was pulled from sleep by the sound and the flashing red lights in his quarters. His communication device buzzed with an urgent message. All diplomatic personnel report to Emergency Assembly Point Alpha immediately. When he reached the assembly point, Tejo found chaos. Diplomats from dozens of species crowded the large hall, all talking at once in different languages. The air filled with clicks, hisses, musical tones, and growls as each species demanded information in their own way. Jiwoo found him in the crowd and pulled him aside. Her face was grim. We have a serious problem. The Rathgon Collective has arrived. I've never heard of them, Tejo said. They're a hive mind species from the Outer Rim. Very advanced technology, very aggressive expansion policy. They haven't been seen in council space for over 50 years. Through the hall's large windows, Tejo could see the reason for the panic. Massive ships filled the space around the council station. The Rathgon vessels were unlike anything he had ever seen. They looked almost organic, like giant insects made of metal and energy. Hundreds of them floated in perfect formation, their dark hulls crackling with unknown weapons. How many ships? Tejo asked. Over 3,000, Jiwoo replied. Enough firepower to destroy every major world in the galaxy. They sent an ultimatum 30 minutes ago. The crowd fell silent as the council leader's voice echoed through the hall. The ancient tree being spoke in its slow, deep tones, but the words carried urgency. The Rathgon Collective demands immediate surrender of 3 star systems, the leader announced. The systems of Kepler 442, Wolf 359, and Proxima b. If the Council does not agree within 24 hours, the Collective will begin systematic destruction of all galactic civilizations. Panic erupted again. Representatives from the threatened systems began shouting protests. Military species demanded immediate retaliation. The peaceful species called for evacuation plans. Nobody seemed to have any idea how to handle this threat. "Why those three systems?" Tae-ho asked Ji-woo. "They're rich in rare minerals needed for advanced technology, but more importantly, they're positioned strategically. Control those systems, and the Rathgon could control trade routes throughout the galaxy." "Can our fleet stop them?" Ji-woo shook her head. "The combined Council fleet might be able to fight them, but it would take weeks to assemble. We don't have weeks. And even if we could match their firepower, the casualties would be enormous." Over the next several hours, Tae-ho watched as the Council tried every traditional approach to the crisis. Military commanders presented battle plans that would cost millions of lives. Economic experts offered trade concessions that the Rathgon ignored. Even threats of mutual destruction failed to move the hive mind. "They're not responding to anything," Minho told the human delegation during an emergency meeting. "Normal diplomatic channels are useless. The Rathgon communicate only through their collective consciousness. Individual wants and needs don't exist for them." "What about their individual components?" asked Hye-jin, the leader of the Human Diplomatic Corps. She was a woman in her 40s, with sharp intelligence and calm confidence. "Every hive mind is made up of individual beings who join the collective. Accessing individual members is theoretically impossible," So Young explained. "The collective consciousness suppresses individual thoughts and memories. Each Rathgon is just a part of a larger mind now." "Theoretically impossible," Hye-jin repeated thoughtfully. "But humans specialize in doing impossible things." While other species prepared for war, Hye-jin made an unusual request. She asked for a private meeting with the Rathgon Queen Mind, the central intelligence that controlled the entire collective. Other council members thought she was insane. "No individual has ever spoken directly to a Queen Mind," the Vextar military commander clicked nervously. "The collective does not recognize individual consciousness as valid." "Then it's time they learned," Hye-jin said simply. The meeting was arranged for the Council's main diplomatic chamber. Security forces from every species surrounded the area, but they all knew their weapons would be useless if the Rathgon decided to attack. The Queen Mind could kill Hye-jin with a thought, and there would be nothing anyone could do to stop it. Tae-ho watched through secure video feeds from the observation room. The chamber had been modified with special equipment to allow the Queen Mind to manifest physically. In the center of the room, energy patterns swirled and condensed into a tall humanoid figure that seemed to be made of living light. Hye-jin entered the chamber alone. She carried no weapons, no protective devices, nothing but her diplomatic credentials and her understanding of alien psychology. The Queen Mind's glowing form towered over her, radiating power that made the air itself tremble. "Collective acknowledges human individual," the Queen Mind spoke in a voice like 1,000 beings talking at once. "State your purpose before Collective ends this inefficient communication." "I'm here to speak with Velinsa," Hye-jin said quietly. The Queen Mind froze. The swirling energy patterns that made up its body suddenly became still. Around the chamber, monitoring equipment detected massive fluctuations in the collective's psychic field. "Velinsa does not exist," the Queen Mind said, but its voice had changed. There was uncertainty now. Confusion. Individual designations were dissolved during collective integration. I know you were Velinsa before the joining, Hyojin continued. I know you wrote music on your homeworld. I know you loved watching sunsets over the crystal forests. I know you joined the collective because you were lonely, not because you wanted power. Teho watched in amazement as the Queen Mind's form began to shift. The perfect unity of the energy patterns started to fracture, showing glimpses of the individual consciousness hidden within. How do you know these things? The Queen Mind demanded. Individual memories were absorbed into collective knowledge. They no longer exist as separate entities. They exist, Hyojin said gently. I spent the last 2 weeks researching the history of every being that joined the Rathgon Collective. All 47,000 individuals who gave up their separate lives to become part of something larger. Research on individual components is irrelevant. Collective consciousness has transcended individual limitations. But Hyojin continued speaking about Velinsa's personal history. She knew about the music competitions Velinsa had won as a young being. She knew about the family that had died in a plague, leaving Velinsa alone and desperate for connection. She knew about the years of loneliness that had driven Velinsa to join the collective. You're not trying to threaten the galaxy, Hyojin said. You're trying to preserve the individual memories that the collective is slowly erasing. The rare minerals you want aren't for weapons. They're for memory storage devices that can keep individual consciousness intact within the hive mind. The Queen Mind's form began to flicker between collective unity and individual fragments. Teho could see different beings within the energy pattern, each one struggling to maintain their identity within the larger whole. Individual preservation is a consideration, the Queen Mind admitted. Collective efficiency requires absorption of unnecessary individual traits. Memory patterns of original components are becoming unclear. You're losing yourselves, Hyojin said with understanding. All 47,000 of you. Every day more personal memories disappear into the collective. You're not really one mind. You're 47,000 individuals who are slowly forgetting who they used to be. The Queen Mind collapsed into a chair that hadn't been there moments before. The energy patterns reformed into a more solid, more individual shape. For the first time, Teho could see hints of the being that had once been called Velinsa. We were so lonely, the Queen Mind whispered, its voice now recognizably individual. Scattered across the galaxy, isolated on dying worlds, forgotten by civilizations that moved on without us, the collective offered connection, purpose, belonging. But it also offered erasure, Hyojin said gently. You gained connection by losing yourselves. And now you're desperately trying to hold on to what's left of who you used to be. The minerals would allow us to preserve individual memory engrams while maintaining collective efficiency, the Queen Mind explained. We could be together without disappearing completely. Then why didn't you just ask for help? The question seemed to surprise the Queen Mind. Its energy patterns shifted in confusion. Other species do not understand collective consciousness. They fear hive minds. They would not assist in our preservation. You never tried, Hyojin pointed out. You assumed they would refuse. But humans understand loneliness. We understand the desire to belong while still being yourself. We've spent our entire existence trying to balance individual identity with group connection. Over the next several hours, Hyojin negotiated not as a representative of the Council, but as one conscious being speaking to 47,000 others who were struggling to remain conscious. She didn't offer military deterrence or economic incentives. She offered understanding and help.